Hello my lovely Flosstube friends, welcome back to the channel. A very warm welcomes to you all, and a special warm welcomes to the 313 new subscribers this month. Welcome to the channel, and I hope you like what you see. Wow people, it is Saturday the 5th of November and this is my October update, and wow, has October been a blast. There's lots of stuff that's happening in October. So this is like take 3 of this video. If I was to begin to tell you how hard it's been to record this video, yeah. So the first time I tried recording this video, the microphone wasn't working. So I recorded for over an hour of me rabbiting and it didn't pick up any sound whatsoever. The second time I recorded this video, explanation will come shortly. I was taking some medication to try and help with some issues that I've got going on with my back. And needless to say, the words would not come out, no matter how much I tried. So here we are on take 3. And this is the beginning of the day. So it's not early morning, but it's morning. So I'm hoping that I'm a bit more bright and a bit more with it. And I can actually get this done and everything goes according to plan. So wish me luck. You'll know because you'll see this video if it's gone well. So much to tell you for October. Where to start, people? We are getting so close to 20,000 subscribers. I'm like, wow. Wow. I mean, we're like 19,600 and something. And it's just like, wow, where did all these people come from? So I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It does make me go all warm and fuzzy. Just the thought of 20,000 of you that are subscribed to this channel. Of course, there will have to be some sort of a giveaway or something because it is a big milestone. It's a huge milestone for me. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So once we hit the 20,000 subscriber mark, we will need to do something. So I will have a little think about that. And when we get there, we can have some fun with that. What else to tell you? So this month we have an FO, people. I know, ring that bell. Oh, there's nothing quite like an FO, is there? Now, for those of you that are new to stitching or new to Flosstube, and you hear these terminologies, because I get asked this question a lot on this channel, is like, well, what's an FO and what's an FFO? So, just for clarity, an FO means that you've finished the stitching. So it's a finished object. It's not fully finished. So when it's basically just the fabric with the stitching and the beading and the whatever makes it so that it's a completed piece of actual beautiful stitching, that is classed as an FO. When we refer to things as FFOs, that means we have fully finished the object. So, i.e. we either framed it, or we've had it framed, or we've turned it into a cushion, or a flat fold, or a pillow, or a wall hanging, or a yada yada. Yeah, the list goes on. The finishing versions are out of this world, and there are so many different ways of doing an FFO. So when we say FFO, it is fully finished and ready to be displayed. And when we say FO, it's basically just a finished bit of stitching or artwork or whatever it is that we've done. That's just for the newbies. For those of you that are old school and already know this, yes, I know I'm telling you how to suck eggs. So in October, I went to the No Ban October 2022 retreat at Northampton. Of course, there was some haul that was purchased while I was there, which I'll share a bit later on in the video. I did post a video of the retreat. I done a bit of an interviewing of the people that were showing us their beautiful projects and the finishing table. So I'll link that up here for you if you're interested to go and see that video if you haven't already. We've also got some crazy new starts. Flosstube made me do it. My Flosstube friends made me do it. I was enabled and they didn't stop me. I'm sorry about the squeaking in the background. The girls are playing in the living room, so we'll just leave them to do their playing, because whilst they're in there playing, they're not in here playing. Also on my live stream, there was a little bit more enabling that went on. This time it was me to you. If you haven't seen that, I'll put the link here for you so that you can head on over if you would like to go and see the live stream. But on that live stream, we all sort of got a bit hooked up and caught up. And before I knew it, I was being enabled. Then I enabled Flosstube. And the decision has been made that we're going to do a new Fancy Lady New Year sale. I'll share that a little bit later as well, so that if you're interested in a new start, new year type thing, and you want to sort of, you know, do it with us, then we haven't ironed out all the details. But basically what we're talking about is a Fancy Lady New Year, New Start. I'm going to start the new Bella Filipina chart And I happened to say who wants to do it with me, and then said, you know what, it doesn't need to be a Bella Filipina. It can be anyone. It could be a fancy lady, it could be a fancy man, it could be a fancy anything. But if you fancy a new start and you want to do it along with us, then by all means you can. So I'll share the details with that a little bit later on also. So let's start with the FO. So this is the design that I've managed to finally finish. So you would have already seen this on my channel if you've been here for a while. So this is the Drawn Thread Welcome Christmas. I was working on this. I'd done a few bits on the live. I'd done some on the train. And yeah. And then whilst I was at the 𝓗𝓵 retreat, I took it with me and got a finish. So here it is in all its glory. So I think the last time that you would have seen it, I was just finishing the stockings. Let me scoot you down so you can see a little bit closer. So I was finishing the stockings. So the stockings on this are charted in either the same as the rest, where it's 2/2, or it's charted 1/1. So I decided to do the stockings 1/1. Needless to say, they took a bit longer than I anticipated. So I finished the stockings, then moved on to the M, did the Christmas tree and the E. And then after I'd done all of that, it was the beading. So we've got the beads on the string of lights. I purchased some mother of pearl stars. I had to import them from the States. Needless to say, it was not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. The C has got some buttons on it, some very cute little red buttons that I managed to get hold of. I think I bought those from the Dollhouse Company or something along that lines. I think, yeah. And then there's just a few more beads that go on the bottom of these berries here. So love, love, love. So there it is. There is my FO. Now I just need to decide what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to do this as a wall hanging or a framed piece, or whether I want to do it as a flat fold. So yeah, undecided. What do we think? Should it be a flat fold? It's small enough to be a flat fold. I can't make it into a cushion because it would end up like in a sausage shaped cushion, and I don't really want a sausage shaped cushion, in all fairness. So yeah, what do we think? Flat fold, wall hanging. What do we think? Ideas, people. Ideas. Always open to ideas. So that is I'm super excited about that. And I actually got to get this on the finishing table. So to actually finish something at a retreat and then put it on the finishing table, that's a first for me. So I'm chuffed about that. So that is my FO. So next up, I think it's only right that we go to the crazy new starts. Like I needed any more. I know. Okay, so what happened, I hear you say? Well, you'll all know that I had decided that I was going to start working on my Christmas Fairy Magic by Chatelaine Creations. I'll put a picture here for you so you can see that. And I said that I was going to use 25 count and I was going to do it 2/110 stitch, which I did, and we started that on one of the live streams. However, Karen the Needlebug here on Flosstube might have put a thought or an idea in my head, and I'm sorry about the girls, they're on a crazy one this morning, where she decided that she wanted to stitch on a 32 count 1/110 stitch. And when she showed her progress, I was like, oh wow, look how much she's got done, all because there was less to do. So of course I fell down a rabbit hole. Yeah, I know. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So this was the one that I was starting, and we did start it on a live stream. So where did we get to, I hear you say? So this is where we were stitching two over one half cross. Let me scoot you down. There we go. And I did have a few issues on the first round of the first time doing this, in all fairness, because I put the wrong colour in. But then I took it all out, we restarted it again, and we got this far. However, when I saw Karen's and the progress that she done, because she wasn't doing 2 strands and she was doing it on a much higher count, she was doing it on a 32 count, and instead of using 2 strands, she was using 1. Yeah, needless to say, I fancied a piece of that too. So I decided I would follow my lead with Karen and go with a 32 count 1/1. Now, this is where I've got to, so I haven't even got 100 stitches on it as yet, because it's literally just been started. But I wanted to show the difference between the 25 count 2/1 and the 32 count 1/1. Now, this is all half cross, so let me see if I can fold this up for you and put this next to it. So that is the difference in size between this one and this one. Now, because I haven't quite got 100 stitches in yet, I'm going to try and get sort of 500 stitches in and then have a little look and see which one I like the look of the most. But this one I'm finding easier to stitch because it is only 1 strand. But it isn't as easy to stitch because it's on a 32 count. So if you've got tired eyes, then it's a little harder to see than this one is. However, I think I'm quite liking this one, the 32 count. So I'm going to play this by ear a little bit. I'm not going to dispose of this and get rid of the 25 count. See, there we go. If I put it a bit closer. I'm not going to get rid of the 25 count because I'm not 100% sure yet. The difference is obviously the design will be so much smaller if I do it in the 32 count over here. It will be a bigger design if I do it in the 25 count. But on the 25 count, it does require 2 strands. And I'm quite liking the 1 strand. And because it's a Christmas piece, I don't want something that's too big hanging on the wall, because it's only going to come out really at Christmas time. Because it's Christmassy. It'll be the sort of thing that I'll put out at Christmas and then put away. So therefore I'm thinking, does it need to be an absolutely, huge? I mean, when I say it's huge, it's 25 count. So 25 count is 35.5 centimeters wide by 36.6 centimeters high. Obviously, because I'm going to a 32 count, it's going to be smaller than that. So it'll be smaller than 35 by 36 centimeters. I'll put here what that is in inches. So yeah. So at the moment, I think I'm quite liking this, but I think I need to get some more stitches in. But yeah, needless to say, I fell down a little rabbit hole. And of course, it was all thanks to Karen the Needlebug, because she decided to try and give some full coverage stitching done on 32 count in 10 stitch. Now, I, in all fairness, never thought it was even possible to stitch on a 32 count because I can only stitch on the gridded fabric. So I can only stitch on the one that's got the pre-grids because apparently I can't count. I wasn't even aware that they did a 32 count magic guide or easy guide fabric. They do, and it is available here in the UK. I purchased mine from Kate at Lakeside Needle Crafts. I'll put a link in the description box below for you. It'll also be in my Google document that's in the description below. All of the projects that I'll be talking about and the things that I'm talking about and showing you today, everything to do with all of those projects, the fabrics, the charts, what I'm using, what I'm not using, will all be in the Google documents that's in the description box below. I get so many questions on my channel asking me of the colorway of the fabric or the this or the that I thought it's just easier if I share it all on a Google documents. The Google Doc gets updated every time I add something new. So therefore, if you're ever looking for something that I've either stitched on or am stitching on, you will find all the details to it in the Google Docs, and it will the Google document will just grow over time. So it doesn't matter which video you click on where the Google Doc is attached. If you go on the Google Documents, it will show you the most up-to-date version of it. So just thought it would be an easier way of sharing the details and information with you all. So the Fairy Christmas by Charting Creations was originally started on the 25 count, and I was stitching it 2 over 1/10 stitched. That was originally started on the 7th of October, and I stitched on it for 4 days before I did the restart. So the restart onto the 32 count 1 over 1/10 stitch was restarted on the 29th of October. And like I say, I haven't even done 100 stitches, but I made a start. So that was the important thing. So the next crazy new start was, well, I'm going to say that I was enabled by my Flosstube friends on one of my live streams. We got into a discussion. We was talking about Halloween charts and projects. And as you know, I don't normally stitch on things that are Halloween-y, but there have been 1 or 2 that I've been quite wowed by. And then during the discussion, everyone was sort of trying to tell me what the name of the chart was that I was thinking of. Yes, we all fell down a rabbit hole. Well, I fell down the rabbit hole. Lots of people have said that they were either stitching it or had stitched it, and they thought it was fabulous. They had an absolute blast with it. So, of course, I fell down the rabbit hole and decided I wanted to stitch on it. And I know it's Halloween. I don't normally stitch Halloween-y things, but for some bizarre reason, this one has really sort of caught my eye. And the more I saw it, the more I wanted to stitch on it. So this is Lila's Studio Halloween Quaker. Lots of people have been showing their progress on it on Flosstube. So needless to say, totally enabled. And this is where I got to. I know, right? Look at me. Now, the fabric. So because the discussion took place on one of the live streams, I didn't have time. I really wanted to sort of make a start on this while I was at the No Bam retreat in October, but I had less than a week, and I decided that I wanted to stitch it on a high count. I wanted to stitch it 1 over 2 full cross, but I wanted to do it on a higher count. Now, as you know, I'm not really one, she says, for high counts of fabric. Normally my maximum is a 28 to possibly a 32, but it's normally pushing it at 32. Well, I seem to have fell down this rabbit hole of I'm rather liking the 40 count Newcastle. Now, because I had less than a week and I had it in my mind the sort of colorway fabric that I wanted, there was no way for me to get my hands on it. A lot of the dyers here in the UK, I think they do custom pieces on a 40 count, but again, there would be the whole order it and wait, and I would never have received it in time to have made a new start whilst I was away at the retreat. So I did go on DenkaiDesigns to see whether she had anything in her store that was available that might have arrived in time. There was nothing in the colorway and nothing in the color that I thought I would like or I thought that I wanted. So I decided that I'd do my own. So I ordered myself some Rit dye, and I've done the low immersion technique. Thank you for Ellie Welly Stitcher for showing me how to do it once before, although those ones were not as successful, let's say. They weren't as successful as I would have liked them. But this one, however, I think has turned out absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I ordered the Rit dye on the Thursday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got up and I dyed the fabric, and I was just splodging bits on, but I kept looking at the chart for reference. So I kept looking at this and I was like, well, I'm not sure that I want it that yellow up there, but then I'm not sure I want it that dark up there, but I sort of want something that's sort of similar. So I don't think we did too bad. So all I done was I ordered some 40 count Newcastle from, I think it was Piecesides or Patchwork Rabbit. I think it was Piecesides in antique white. So it turned up in antique white. I got the Rit dye in some greys, some blues, and I had some caramels and taupes, and literally just went a little crazy with it and sort of got it how I thought I would like it. So maybe not as light in places, but have some light areas, but then not as dark in these places here and here. So I done it. When I first done it, I was like, oh, I'm not too sure what that's going to turn out like. But I was like, do you know what? The worst that can happen is it's an absolute disaster. I don't have a new start. And all I can do is, if I didn't like how this turned out, I could just literally do a dip dye in a darker colour and just turn it like a one colour. So in my mind, that was what I told myself. When I'd done it, I rinsed it out, I hung it up to dry. I rolled it in a towel first to take off the worst of the wet. Hung it up to dry, went about my business, went to work. Well, I say went to work. I came in the office and worked in the morning on that Thursday. It was dry by lunchtime, so I went out and ironed it. And as soon as I ironed it, I was just like, it is perfect. Exactly what I had in mind for this. So, needless to say, this was the fabric of choice that I decided I was going to start with. And I dyed it on the Thursday, and it went off to the stitching retreat with me on the Friday. So, yeah, there was me thinking that there was no way I was going to get my new start because it didn't have the fabric, and I've managed to dye my own fabric exactly as I would like it. The Needleminder that you are looking at on here was a purchase from the 𝓗𝓵𝓵 retreat. This is a DenkaiDesigns. I will put a link in the Google Notes and in the description box below for her Needleminders. But I absolutely love it. Look at the little pumpkin on there. So when I saw it, it was like, it's a must. It's a must. And the fact that this is all rather Halloween-y, it was perfect. So I think we made good progress on this. So how many days did this one get? So Halloween Quaker was started on the 22nd of October, and this is 4 days worth of stitching. And I'm absolutely loving it. I'm using the called for threads, which are Classic Colourworks. Look at these colours. So we've got frog legs, we've got bamboo, we've got honeycomb, we've got black coffee, which is that colour there, and we've got blackbird, which is that colour there, I think. And then what else have we got? Oh, we've got lobster's claw as well. So there we go. That's not all of the colours, but that was all the colours that I could get my hands on. And to be honest, I'm still working over here in the black coffee colour anyway. So yeah, in no great rush to get the rest of those. But love those colours. Love those colours. Look at those. Beautiful. So yeah, do you know what? I'm really, really liking stitching on this one. This is the one that I take up to my bedroom and I have it next to me on the bedside. And if I fancy a little bit of stitching whilst I'm lying in bed, before I go sleepies, then I've been pulling this one out. So yeah, love, love, love. So that is another new crazy start. So next new start was something I think I mentioned in my previous monthly update, that I was going to try and do some Christmas stitching. And originally I was saying I wouldn't share it because I didn't want people to see it. But I don't think I need to worry about the people that are going to receive this seeing this, because it's unlikely that they watch my Flosstube. So I decided that I've done these before for Christmas presents, but I'm going to do them again. So I'm doing the Misteltoe Kisses Berries by Erica Michaels. So I'm doing Mistletoe Kisses, and I'm doing the Candy Cane Wishes. I'm not going to do the cushion. I'm just literally doing these two berries. So I made a start, she says. I'm stitching this. When I stitched these the last time, I didn't use the called for fabric. I think I used a 28 count or a 32 count. This time I'm going with the called for fabric, which is a Weeks Dye Works 40 count in colorway straw, and this is where we've got to. I'm using the called for Weeks Dye Works colors. So here they are. We've got linen, we have got baked apple, and we have got collards, is it? So yeah, there's my colors, but making good progress on this. So this one was started So this one was started on the 25th of October. It had one day in October, and I have stitched on this one evening in the last week or so as well, during November, but obviously I don't class that as a day in October. I have purchased, one of the reasons that I decided to do these was because when I first decided to stitch on these was during, I think it was during lockdown. And you can see on the picture that each of the berries has got the felt on the top. And at the time, the felt wasn't in stock in the UK. So I ended up finishing them differently. But because I'd had it on order, it did actually turn up. So I was like, well, there's a reason to stitch them again, because I've actually got the correct finishing fabrics. So I've got here the 2 finishing fabrics that go on the top. Here they are. They're absolutely gorgeous. Lovely, lovely wool felt wool fabric. So they're the 2 called for colours, the red one and the green one. And then also what was called for was the pins. So there's a cardinal and a couple of snowflakes. So I'll be using them as well. So I just need to get a wiggle on and get that stitched up and finished, so that I do actually give them away at Christmas. So that is my final new start. I know I said I wasn't going to have any new starts, but I don't know what's come over me. It's almost like my brain all of a sudden has decided that it doesn't care. It doesn't care anymore. I used to get quite anxious if I had new starts and I wasn't getting time to stitch on them. And it's almost as if my brain has just flicked that switch off and switched on the other switch. I mean, there's lots of people that sort of say, you know, well, if you have too many, they can become a little overwhelming. And that's how I used to be. But now I'm like, well, if I don't start it, I might never stitch it. So at least if I start it, I'm in half a chance of actually finishing something. So that's where I'm going with on all the new starts. So my crazy, I'm not starting anything new. I've just decided I'm just going to start all the things and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm having an absolute blast doing it this way. I know that some people don't, and they just can't bear it, and I get that, because that used to be me. Don't ask me what happened to me. I think it was Flosstube that did this. I'm blaming Flosstube for this. So now we're on to whips. The stuff that you've seen before, and there's no surprises here. For those of you that were watching my last live stream, you'll know that I was having some issues with my back, and I am still having some rather big issues with my back. So much so that I had an urgent MRI scan yesterday. Needless to say, I'm using drugs at the moment to try and keep me as comfortable as possible, but I'm having to sit and stand. So I'm recording this video in little bite-sized chunks so that I'm not just sort of sat here constantly like in one position. Luckily for me, the condition is not serious that it's requiring any sort of surgery, but I don't actually get the verdict until Tuesday. But he did say that it looks like I've damaged one of the discs in my lower back. So if I appear to be a little rigid during this video, that is why. But you know what? I need to do my monthly update. If I allow this to slip, you know how downhill I go from there. So we're not slipping this month. So this takes as long as it takes, people. Okay, so next up is whips. What have I managed to stitch on? I'll be honest, I didn't think I'd stitched on much, but I have, but just not a lot. So there's not lots of days of stitching on these. So next up we have my Greta Goldbroom by Bella Filipina. Now, those of you that join me on my live streams on a Sunday, you would have seen this. I've really predominantly only actually stitched on this on the lives, I think. I think I've done a little bit of off-camera stitching, but this is where we've got to. My little needleminder here that we're sporting is my AgnesLittleMinders. Again, the link for her website and Etsy shop will be in the Google Notes and in the description box below. So Greta here, we're making great progress on this. I'm actually quite impressed with how much progress we're making on her. So Greta got 3 days worth of stitching this month. And on the live, I think we were stitching this section here. So as reference, as you can see, if I put the picture there, so that bit is this bit. So we're just over here now, which is sort of this section. So we've nearly got most of the big stitching of the dress, and then we can move on to like the bustle and yeah. So not bad. Now obviously Halloween has already come and gone here in the UK and everywhere else in the world, and it's unlikely to be finished anytime soon. So I'm gonna give myself my own goal here. I'm gonna aim to have this done by Halloween next year, so that it's hanging on the wall. That's the plan. But I don't think we did too bad. 3 days worth of stitching, of which most of it was being stitched on my live. So thank you ever so much for keeping me company on that, for those of you that were on there. Again, all of the fabric choices, so all of the fabric colours that you're looking at and the details regarding the projects, you will find on the Google documents that's listed in the description box below. So next up on the whips is my Winter White Santa, my Mirabilia. I think it's the only Mirabilia that I'm stitching on currently, and this one has been seriously neglected. But because I was going to the retreat, I thought it made sense to take him along and get some stitching on him. He needs to come out and get a bit more stitching, I think, now that we're sort of heading towards winter and towards Christmas. I'll put a picture here so you can see where we last saw him. I don't think I've done massive amounts on him, but the plan is that we're going to try and sort of get a bit more stitching on him. This is what he should look like when he's finished in all his glory. And this is where we've got to. So we already had his little face and his head and all this section. So whilst I was at the retreat, I was working on this section down here on his shoulder, which is basically that section there. So I need to finish this section here and we can start working our way down. But yeah, I'm quite impressed with how much stitching I actually got done at the stitching retreat on him. And again, all of the details for the fabric that I'm using for stitching on this will be in the Google documents in the description box below. One of the reasons that I struggled to pick him up and stitch on him is I was finding it really difficult to see because it was an opalescent, the shiny bits. However, saying that, since I've had it on the Q-snap and I was stitching it on a Q-snap on my little 𝓗𝓼𝓼 whilst I was at the stitching retreat, I didn't have as many problems as I do when I put him on a scroll frame. So I might need to just sort of get myself past where the beads are so that we don't end up sort of with any beads underneath the clips here of the Q-snap. And maybe stitch on him on a Q-snap and then go back and do the beading, because I do seem to be able to see more when I can bring it really close to my face. So yeah, but I don't think that's too bad. He got a little bit of love, and I absolutely love his cute little face. I mean, that was one of the reasons that I did that bit of face, because it gives me something to look at, because he's so gorgeous. I can't wait for him to be done, but I do need to actually get a wiggle on and stitch on him if I have any intentions of getting him finished. So, like I say, Winter White Santa, he got one partial day of stitching whilst I was at the retreat. Of course, I don't ever do very much stitching when I go to the retreats because I do a lot of chatting, just not a lot of stitching. So the next whip that I worked on, it was a token gesture stitching, is Mayari. Again, a Bella Filipina. About now you should be seeing where I last stitched on her. This is what she'll look like when she's finished. That's the plan. And this is where we've got to. So she's rolled up. So I have got some more stitching that's underneath here. And again, I'm sporting another one of the Agnes Needleminders. Little dragon with the pumpkin. Cute, isn't he? Very, very cute. Where do I get to? So I think the last time I was stitching on this, I was stitching up here on the head section. I decided I wanted to try and get myself to the top of the design and then work my way down. So we've made a start and I've gone up and done the halo effect. So we're on the inside circle of this halo. Although I'm saying that, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried because that's the top of the fabric. I do hope that that halo isn't too tall. I'm hoping that the top of that, do you see? Let me zoom you down. Hold on. You see the top of that triangle there? I'm hoping that there's an outline of the sparkly thread and that's the top, because if it goes much higher, I'm going to run out of fabric, in all fairness, because that is the top of my fabric. So yeah, I'm hoping that I have left myself enough room. I'm pretty sure I have. I'm normally quite careful when I'm doing these to make sure that I've left enough fabric. But yeah, so this is the first and only one that I have stitched skin in the same 2/2 full cross, purely because I was struggling with this fabric. The fabric is so dark, and I did try the whole putting a light underneath it, put a light above it, but because I stitched two-handed, as soon as I put a hand underneath to bring the needle back up, it hides the light. So then I was trying to use the light above. It didn't work. I mean, I've tried putting something light on my legs. That does help, but I'm tending to find that as long as I stitch in full daylight, it's not too bad. I just cannot stitch on this in the evenings. So this can only come out on the weekends when I have full daylight to stitch on her. But yeah, we are getting there, people. We're definitely getting there. So we've been working on this section around here. So not to be sniffed at. So she got, like I say, one day, one token gesture day, because I felt like I've been neglecting her. But when you have more than sort of, I don't know, 7 or 10 whips, I think we start to neglect some of them anyway. And I've got over the whole I have to stitch on everything every month, because it's like, well, there's some months that things won't get stitched on, and that's fine. And I think now that I've got my head wrapped around that, I'm much more comfortable with the whole thing. So yeah, so I'm enjoying stitching lots of different things and being, you know, having stuff that hasn't come out for a while come out and go, oh, this is refreshing. The next whip that I worked on in October was the lovely Alternative Reality. About now you should be seeing a picture of where you last saw her. And this one I am trying to make a bit of a focus piece, because she's been with me for a very long time, and I've been on a bit of a go slow with her, haven't I? This one got 3 days worth of stitching, and finally, she says, I got to 25% complete on Pattern Keeper. Yay me! I know it's not a finish. I know it's not even halfway, but for me, that was like a milestone. 25% finally. I've been working up here in this section. You can see where I am. I'm trying to get, so where I've got sort of 200 stitches across there, I'm trying to get down to this bit. So as soon as I get to here, that will then make that so that that's all in a line. And then I'll do exactly the same down here. And then I'll start doing full rows so that I get variation in what I stitch on her. Again, this one's full coverage. It is stitched 1/1 full cross on 25 count. I think it's probably one of my oldest whips now, other than Evening in the Park. I think. I can check, but I think that's the case. So yeah, the plan is that once I get a wiggle on with this, I'm hoping, but this is high confetti. This is like confetti heavy everywhere. I don't think I've ever actually sat and stitched a block of colour on this one, but this is a Josephine wool, so they are quite renowned for being quite heavy with the confetti. So, but as you can see, there's just so many colours in there that it's just permanent colour changes, and I don't think it's going to get any different if I look at the picture. It doesn't change, it stays like this throughout. So yeah, 25%, not bad, not bad. I would like to think that I will get more of a wiggle on with this one. Again, we have another Agnes Needleminder just here. I'm not quite sure what this one is. Oh no, I do. So it's got fins. This is like a dragon with fins. So there's his little fin feet. I think this is like one of the under the sea type ones. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. But yeah, very happy with the progress on that one. And the milestone of 25% on Pattern Keeper. I'm like, yay, at last. It only took me 5+ years to do it. Next up is my train project. So this is the one that I take on the train on the way into London. Although saying that, I haven't really done any days in London this week. I've been predominantly working at home, so it hasn't come out. But in October, it got 3 days. So that was the 3 days into the office. So it had 3 mornings of stitching on this. And as you can see, the chart is already starting to look very, very dog-eared. This is what happens when I have things that go on the train with me, because they have to fit in a project bag and then in my bag and then get trudged around London with me. So yeah, they get a little bit massacred in the bag, to say the least. So this is where I got to, she says. So here we are. I'd already finished this shoe the last time we'd seen it. I think the last time we saw this one, I was working on the flowers. And I tell you, it makes such a difference on these when you add the back stitch, because I think the last time I showed this, I didn't have all of the back stitch and I hadn't finished all of the flowers. But as soon as you start adding the back stitch to this is when they come alive. So let me scoot you down. So we got the flowers done, we got the buds done. I worked my way up the back of the shoe, did the heel, and now I'm just working on the flower, the next big flower at the top. So just for reference, she says, there's the picture. So we're just starting this bit here. So I've got one more big flower to do, and then we will have our second shoe done. But yeah, love stitching on this on the train. It's so super easy to stitch on. But I think we've made good progress. I can't wait to get another finish. So 2 shoes, we're not doing too bad. We're not doing too bad. But I did say that I wasn't sure how much stitching this would get, given that it's sort of coming up for Christmas and I've got some Christmas things that I wanted to get stitched, of which those Christmas things that I was talking about doing on the train, I haven't even got round to starting yet. So I need to get a wiggle on, because otherwise they won't get started. I know what I'm like. So then the final whip is the lovely Chatelaine, Evening in the Park. What can I say, people? It has been neglected. However, it did get 3 days at the beginning of October. I didn't take it with me to the retreat because it's on big scroll bars, and I didn't want to have to take a stand with it. Now, I'm going to struggle to do this because I have hurt my back. More about that in a little while when I give you an update. So I'm a bit rigid and having to be exceptionally careful what I do and how I move at the moment. She's so big that if I put her on the desk, you can't see her in her glory. So let me just do this so that you can see where we're at. So this is where we've got to. Love, love, love. So if I now put it down on the desk so that I can show you where I've been stitching. Now, what did come up at the No Band Retreat was that there was a lot of people, as you know from the video, there was a lot of people that were working on their Chatelaines. And of course, the subject came up about, well, Teresa, you know, what's happening with you and your Chatelaine? And I was like, I know I should have it finished by now. But I said, I think I've for those of you that are on my channel a lot, you'll know that I'd said, famous last words, I'd said that because I was absolutely hating the trees, I'd said to myself that every time I pulled it out, I had to stitch a tree because I didn't want to end up with all the trees, because the trees, I can't bear the trees. The lanterns I'm fine with, but the trees, I hate the trees. So I'd sort of said to myself that every time I pulled it out to stitch on it, I had to promise that I would stitch a tree and then move on and do something else. Well, I think that was where it sort of fell down, because the thought of having to get it out and stitch a tree sort of put me off getting it out. So then I didn't want to stitch on it at all. Yeah, it's not great. I know, it's not great. So whilst I was at the ENR Retreat and was talking about sort of the dilemmas that I'm facing with this piece, they turned around and said, we was talking about sort of holding people accountable. A number of the ladies at the retreat have agreed that if I stitch the rest of her, they will each do one of the trees. And I think there's about 8 of them that have agreed to do the trees. And you know, when it's just like, I just felt like the weight got lifted off me. The thought of having to stitch those trees was just, it was putting me off. But now that I know I don't have to stitch all the trees, I might have to stitch a couple of trees, but not all of them. I mean, I don't know. I'll need to check the chart to see how many trees need stitching. I think there's between 6 and 8 of them that have agreed to stitch a tree each at the retreats. So yeah, I'm going to get a wiggle on now, because I need to have it ready for them to stitch their trees. So you know who you are. You lovely lot that agreed to stitch the trees. So I will now, obviously, in my head, I'm like, I don't have to stitch the trees, so it's fine. Now I've decided I'm going to finish the corners. So I've got this corner here, which I've been working on. We'll scoot down in a minute. Then I'm going to go over here. Oh, sorry. And I'm going to stitch this corner, and then I can bring the sides down with the gates, do the gate at the bottom. I will do all of the lanterns, she says. See, I will commit to something. So these lanterns, let me show you. So these lanterns, I will stitch those. I will stitch all of the surround. I will stitch the gates. I will stitch all of the snow, and I'll just leave out the space for the trees, for those that have agreed to do the trees for me. But I think what I'll need to do is I'll need to, let me see. So there's 2, right. So it looks like there's 2 trees per section. Yes, there is. So there's 2 trees in each section. So, well, I can tell from here, I've got 2, 4, 6. Do you know what? There's 8 trees. There's 8 trees left. And I think there were 6 or 8 of you that agreed to do the trees. So in which case, I can just leave the spaces for the trees down on the other sections. Because that's the halfway mark. And it will repeat from this level downwards. It will repeat. So as long as I do the lanterns and I do the snow and I do the border and just leave the gaps for the trees. I love that idea. How cool is that? I've got someone else to stitch the trees for me in the hope that it will inspire me to want to get a wiggle on and get this finished. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. And the fact that they've all been generous enough to say, yeah, I'll stitch a tree for you, Teresa. Yes. All in the name of it's a bit like a round robin without it going round, really. I don't think I would be brave enough to sort of send this off around the country to get people to stitch on it. But if it went to the retreat and the ladies agreed to stitch a tree each for me, yeah, that we can do. So let me zoom you down and see where the zoom goes. Hold on, where are we? Where has it gone? Right there. So this is the corner I've been working on. I think last time you saw it, I was working along this section here. So I've gone ahead and done the outline border. And for those of you that were sort of always sort of saying, oh, I'm a bit scared about the specialty stitches, this is what when I sort of say to people, just remember that it's not like you're doing a specialty stitch in the middle of a piece of fabric. So you can see here, these are the gaps. So I've done all of the cross stitching and it's left me with the gaps, which then makes the specialty stitch so much easier to do because you can see exactly the space that you need to fill. It's not like it's just out there on a bit of fabric and you've just got to work out which holes you start in. With the diagrams and with the gaps, with the shape there, it makes it so much easier to understand what you need to do. So yeah, it's great stuff. It's great stuff. So there we go. So that was the last whip. That was the last whip that I've worked on. Now I need to decide what I'm stitching on this month. Whether I'm going to have a bit of a change up. This one I think needs to come out now because it's motivated me to get cracking on this, and we'll see how far we can get. Even though I'm not going to another retreat until next year, so I've got plenty of time. I don't want to get it done too soon, because otherwise I'll get impatient about not having the trees finished. So I need to allocate enough time. So, but that is where we got to on the whips. So all in all, I don't think it was a very shabby month at all. I didn't get massive amounts of stitching done, but it's not like I didn't get anything done either. On some previous videos, there has been a lovely lady by the name of Anne that sent me, she was helping me with my enabling, let's say, for my knitting and knitting socks and the likes. I confess the socks haven't come out, but that's because I've been so into my stitching just recently. It's not to say that I won't pick my socks up, but I'm a bit intimidated now because I've sort of forgotten how to do the sock, and it's like halfway through the sock. So yeah, I'll need to sort of have the time and the patience to sort of re-go back to the sock and try and pick up where I've left off. But the lovely Anne, she posted a picture on Instagram of this lovely little jumper that she saw, or that she was knitting. I saw it and was like, oh, that's so gorgeous. So I liked it. Love her. She offered to make me a jumper. I was like, you can't do that. It would take you forever. I said, I can't have you make me a jumper. And she said, no, it won't take very long at all. Well, she made me my jumper, and I am sporting it as we speak. How gorgeous is this jumper? How gorgeous is this? And all I had to do was give her some measurements. So I gave her some measurements of me. Although that was quite funny because she's going, well, what's the measurement from under your arm to there? And what's your measurement? And I was like, well, when you say there, where do you mean exactly? Because I haven't got any idea where I need to be measuring from to get the right size. But how gorgeous is this? So with her help, she told me what wool I needed to look at. So I picked the colourway, the wool colourway myself. I think it's gorgeous. It is the softest, loveliest jumper I've owned, I have to say. That was my frames landing on the floor. It is the gorgeous jumper. So I wanted to show you it. Now, I do have an issue with the back, so standing up is an issue, but I wanted to show it to you. So let me just rigidly stand up. Look how cute. Look how cute this jumper is. It is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And it is like a crop jumper. It's like a little crop. So I love, love, love. Love my jumper. So, Anne, thank you so, so much. You are adorable. I would love to be able to knit a jumper like this. If I did, I think I'd be knitting endless jumpers because it's just, it feels so lovely. It fits so lovely. It's just lovely. I love you. Thank you, Anne. Thank you so, so much for the lovely jumper. I love it. Absolutely love it. And it fits like a glove. So what else to share with you? Well, of course, we have some haul. I went to the stitching retreat, so of course there is always inevitably some haul involved. So first things first, I love a bag. We all love a bag, right? We all got to love a bag. It's a thing. We love a bag. But this bag, I just couldn't resist. I went trying to be exceptionally good because I seemed to be going a bit crazy and buying all the things and starting all the things. I was like, no, you need to put a cap on it, Teresa. You need to behave yourself. It's nearly Christmas. You need to save your pennies. Did I? No, of course I didn't. Look at this bag. Would you look at that? And it's got my favourite person on it. I do love a bit of Johnny Depp. But look at this bag. It is gorgeous. So it's one of those big bottom bags. It's so well made. So well made. And the key, it's got a little skull and crossbones. I'm not sure whether it's going to pick that up. Let me do it on the overhead camera. So there's the bag. There's my cutie. Oh, look at him. Isn't he gorgeous? And it's got a little skull and crossbones pull. Some lovely polka dots. And as you can see, the name, let's turn it around the right way so you can see. So this is Naomi's bags, called the Trendy Crafter. Now, she does have an Etsy store, but it's currently closed. She's exceptionally busy with retreats and the likes, and she's doing lots of stock for the retreats. At some point when the shop goes live again, I will make sure to add her to the Google Documents and also give you all a heads up that she's got some stock. I think as and when she does have something, she'll post it onto the Etsy store. So maybe I'll link to the Etsy store now so that you can go and follow the Etsy store. But like I say, at the moment it's currently closed until she's got some more stock. So, but absolutely love. And there were so many. So most of the bags that I was showing on the retreat video, which I already linked to up there, the bags that were on there that other people had, they were all of these bags. So she has some amazing fabrics. So what else did we get? Of course, you can't go to a retreat and not make some purchases, right? And not get enabled. So whilst I was there, Marnie from Marneys Mixed Bag, she was also there for a day on the Saturday, I believe. So I got myself some more Q-snaps. So we got a Q-snap 11 by 11, and I also got the 14. So it's a converter from 11 by 11 to 14 by 14. I don't always do that. So if I've got like my 9 by 9, sometimes I will put the extender on just to make it longer but narrower, because I don't like to have to stick my hand too far up the back when I'm stitching. But I do like these extension packs because they do work perfectly for how I like it. So there was that. Also, Zarina from Hawkins Hobbies was there. Of course she was, because she runs it. And I bought this little kit. So it is Today Choose Joy by Lizzie Kate. It's about time I had some smalls. I decided that I wanted to do some smalls and then have like one of those dough bowls and put some little cushiony things in there. So yeah. So I got this. You can probably see it better up here than you can on the desk. So it's Today Choose Joy, Keep It Simple. It's got all of the threads, the classic colour works and Weeks Dye Works in there. And I'm going to turn that into a little cushion when I find the time to stitch on it. But love that. So I've got that. Also, whilst I was there, when I went to the retreat the last time, so not this time just gone, but the time before, Charisse from DenkaiDesigns was stitching on a mermaid, and I was totally wowed by it. When I was there this time, and I said, so what was that mermaid you were stitching on last time that I was like totally in love with? And she was like, oh, that's Renaissance mermaid. Now, I have to say, this picture versus what she stitched look massively different. This doesn't do it any justice whatsoever. I'll be honest. So that's the design. But in all fairness, I don't think it looks at all like that. Not after seeing it stitched up. So I've gone ahead and bought it. But that picture does not inspire me even a little bit. But I've seen that stitched when DenkaiDesigns done it. And it is glorious. So we got the Renaissance mermaid. And of course, it would be rude not to, because I'm all about dressing rooms and I'm sort of thinking about, you know, some of the stuff that I want in my dressing room. I've got my shoes which are going in the dressing room, but when I have seen this on other people's stitching and Flosstube, I was like, do you know what? Just bite the bullet, Teresa. Get the chart and just do it. So I got The Dressmaker's Daughter by Mirabilia. Love, love, love. I think that will look amazing in my dressing room. So I've got the chart. I didn't buy the bead pack. It's not like I've got a full kit. I've literally just bought the chart. And it will be one of those ones that goes into my stash. And it will get some love. And it will get started when I'm ready. No rush for it. But it would be very nice. Also, whilst I was at the retreat, like I say, Marneys Mixed Bags was there. Now, I've always been a bit of a sucker for bowing needles because I do like little petite needles. The John James, they do a petite range. and I do have those. But what I did find is Piecemakers tapestry needles. Now I've never tried these. Let me put the zoom on. I've never tried these Piecemaker needles before, but I picked some up and thought I'll give them a go. They're not super petite, but they're not giant needles either. Hold up, let me put them up because you can't see them there. Let me hold them up to the camera because there's more light here. So, like I say, they're not giant needles. They're not as big as the standard John James, I don't think. But they're not petite either, as such. But they're sort of somewhere in the middle. So I thought I would try these. So far, I'm rather liking them. So, yeah, Marneys Mixed Bags. Also, whilst I was at the treat, Charlotte from Stitching with the Kids Around, Flosstube, I'll link to her here. She shared with me that I know everyone loves floss drops, and I've never really been a floss drop person because I've always had either my Annie's Keepers or my Pip and Chip hangers. But one thing I have noticed is that the projects where I'm going to be stitching on the train, or I'm having projects that I'm taking out and about, they can get a bit bulky inside the project bag and it's more to carry. So the floss drops at that point are really quite handy, but I don't own any. But what she did say is you can buy off of Amazon these tags. So they're heart tags. It comes with a ball of string. I mean, obviously the ball of string I'll just use in the garden. It's always handy to have a ball of string. Or for finishing, 1 out of 2. And there's these. So she uses this hole here to hang her threads and then just writes the number on. And you get loads of them. Like that many of them. And I was like, what a great idea. Especially for like my train projects and projects where I'm on the go. I can just stick those on a ring and off I go. So yeah. So of course, another rabbit hole. Thanks, Charlotte. Really appreciate that. Charlotte is actually the one that is also to blame for the next thing that I'm about to talk about, which of course is the Fancy Lady Sale. New year, new start. Now, for those on the live stream, the last live stream that I did, you will know there was a big long discussion about being totally enabled, and I was totally enabled, by the new Bella Filipina chart. So I'll put a picture here so you can see it. So the new Bella Filipina chart is 𝓦𝓲𝓽𝓻𝓮, is it? I think that's how it's said. If it's not, then that's how I'm saying it. And I absolutely love that. So I've ordered the chart. But whilst I was on the live stream, I turned around and said, well, because I've just been enabled by someone else on the stream and been like wowed by her, it's only fair that I enable the rest of you. So I turned around and said on the live, well, if I stitch it, who wants to stitch it with me? So, Kirst, there was a few people that fell down the rabbit hole of who's going to stitch it with me. But then there was also, because I turned around and said, but actually, you don't have to stitch on the new Bella Filipina. In fact, let's just go with any fancy lady you like. Or man, or mermaid, or merman, or whatever you like, just as long as it's a fancy something. So, we all fell down a bit of a rabbit hole. We all agreed that we was going to have a new year, new start. For those that would like to come and join me in my little sale, my fancy lady sale. Now, there is no hashtag as yet. I think we're going to work that out on the next live stream. So I think the plan is that we're going to sort of talk about what hashtag and what sale we're actually going to call it. But basically, the only thing that I would say is if you've got in your stash, or you would like to purchase a fancy lady, a fancy man, a mermaid, a merman, a fancy anything, and you would like to start a new year, new start with me and the Flosstube friends, then over the next few weeks, we will probably be working out what we're going to name the sale, and then make sure that we've got some hashtags in place so that we can do the fancy. I mean, I don't know if there's already a hashtag the fancy lady sale, so I'll have to check. But ideally, I would like to think a little bit more out the box than that. So yeah, a bit more discussion going on. But I do love to have plans and be organised. So the fact that I'm telling you this on the 5th of November gives you right the way through till the end of December to come up with something. So if you would like to come and join the fun, then we would love to have you aboard. Like I say, a few more details will probably crop up over the next set of lives and obviously the next monthly update. So nothing set in stone yet. I will definitely be having a new year, new start on that particular project. I'm just deciding now on my fabric. So again, I might have to call upon my Flosstube friends and enablers to help me decide on the fabric because there's just too many to pick from. But yeah, so if you are interested and you would like to join in the fun, then by all means, I would love to have you aboard. More details will follow. Feel free to come and join the live streams. If you aren't able to catch the live streams, you can watch them on a replay. They are on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link to the playlist here for you in case you're interested in the lives, because you can watch them all back, and then that way you can catch up on all the details and all the fun that what gets discussed on the live streams. So big news about a new Essex Needles Retreat for 2023. For those of you that are in the UK, or for anyone that would like to travel to the UK, you will be pleased to know there is another retreat in September 2023 that will be held at Stansted. Now, when I say it's held at Stansted, it's held at the Novotel Hotel at Stansted Airport, which is great for those that might be travelling in via flight, because you can fly directly into Stansted and we're right there. There's no onward bound travel from there. Literally, you fly in, you're there. It's great. Details. Always handy to have details. So the dates for the September Essex Needles Retreat will be the 15th to the 17th of September. Like I say, it's going to be held at Stansted Novotel Hotel. Easy for you to get to. We are doing the retreat on a first come, first served basis, as always. That's how we do all of our retreats. And email registration will open on the 19th of November. So the 19th of this month. If you are interested, then there is a Facebook group that you can join. I'll put the link below here and also in the description box. If you go join the Facebook group, the post is on there to tell you everything that you need to know about the retreat and the email address that you would need to register with on the given day at a given time. Once the registration is open, we're looking at around 40 to 50 people, I believe. So literally the first 40 or 50 people that I receive emails from will be the first on the list. Of course, we will have a wait list for those of you that don't get your registration emails in fast enough. So even if you don't make the actual registration and you end up on the wait list, there's always the possibility and chance that you will eventually get to go to the retreat. Like I say, all of the details are on the Facebook group. The weekend is for the 15th to the 17th of September. Registration will start on the 19th of November this month. Head on over to the Facebook group, join the group, read the post. That will give you all the information that you need to know. Gotta love a retreat, right? So a little bit of life update, because you all love a bit of life update. What to tell you? So the last live stream that I did, I mentioned, and I was a bit uncomfortable to say the least on the live stream because I was having some issues with my back, which at the time I had no idea what I'd done. I hadn't really done anything, so I couldn't understand why all of a sudden my back was so painful. Needless to say, I did that live stream in an uncomfortable position, but I did have a hot water bottle and I had a cushion and I had all the things. But when I got off that live stream that night was really quite bad. But what made it worse was the following morning, I basically collapsed because I had such searing pains in my back that my legs gave out and then I ended up on the floor. The problem was once I ended up on the floor, I couldn't get back up again. So my husband had to come and try and help me. Needless to say, we was on the floor for some time. I had an appointment to see a consultant yesterday. Since Sunday, my back has been terrible to the point that I can barely move. When I do move, let's just say it's a very eye-watering experience, and it doesn't seem to matter at the moment whether I'm moving, not moving, standing, sitting. The radiating pain that's going from my back to my stomach is, yeah, it's not good. But I did go for an urgent MRI scan yesterday, of which I sat there for quite some time. And they have confirmed that it is nothing serious as far as needing any type of surgery, or that, you know, I'm going to lose the use of my legs or anything like that. However, he has confirmed that it does look like I have done something to the discs. I don't know whether it's one or more than one or what it is. But basically, he turned around and said, eat as many painkillers as you can. Try not to stay in any one position for very long. Try and keep moving where you can. Take some anti-inflammatories. Use whatever you need to try and help with the pain. And I believe I'm having an update call with him on Tuesday to find out the verdict of what exactly is wrong and how he's going to fix me. So yeah, so needless to say, I did have a live stream planned for this weekend. Currently, I don't think I'm going to do the live stream. So I think I'm going to cancel the live stream for this weekend, because I just don't think my back is going to let me. Although you might have seen me sitting here in this seat and you think that I've sat here for the entire length of this video, that's not the case. So literally every 5 or 10 minutes I've got up and gone for a walk and then come back. You've got to love a bit of editing. But even a slight tip in direction is enough that it sparks off the pain. So I don't think sitting there doing a live stream is necessarily going to be the best thing for me on my back. So I'm going to cancel the live stream. Hence why I've tried to get this video up, to give you something to watch rather than nothing. But I will be back as soon as my back is a little bit more comfortable and I can sit for a small length of time. At that point, I will be back with the live stream. But yeah, just doesn't make sense to do a live stream. I'm sure that this will be, you know, a short-term thing, and that once it sort of stops doing whatever it is that it's doing, it will become a lot more comfortable and bearable, and we'll be back to all the things, people. So update on mum. I always get so many lovely messages about how my mum is. My mum is doing okay. She's still got a few issues that we're currently trying to iron out, which is making it so that she can't go out as much as she would like. But in general, her general well-being and stuff, she's happy. She's loving the fact that the ladies football is on. She loves ladies league football. So she's spending a lot of her time enjoying catching up on YouTube and on the TV with all the ladies league football. So yeah, don't get a peep out of her while there's football on. That we do not get a peep out of her at all. But yeah, no, she's doing well. She's doing okay. She's not liking the cold weather. So this is the point of the year where we don't really see much of my mum outside, because she doesn't like the cold. But then I relate to that. I don't like the cold either. So that makes two of us. But this is perfect stitching weather, because no one wants to go out. You don't want to do anything. You just want to sit and stitch. But at the moment, I can't even really sit and stitch very much because my back hurts too much. And even the smallest of movements, like tipping forwards, is an issue still. So yeah. So needless to say, I'll be curled up indoors, very similar to my mum, staying in the warm where I can. So I think that's it as far as update. I told you, as far as updates, it's short and sweet. There's not much to tell you. Question for you all. So I get lots of Q&A on my comments on these videos. Unfortunately, because I get so many comments, I struggled to actually sit there and type responses to all of them. So I'm beginning to wonder whether it would make sense to put a bit of a Q&A session in at the end of my videos, or whether I should do Stitch With Me's with a Q&A on the channel, so that way all of the questions that get asked I answer, but I don't have to sit and type. Because the problem is a lot of the questions that I'm being asked are the same questions that keep coming up. So I'm like, well, maybe if I share it on my streams or on my lives or on my Stitch With Me's or on my monthly updates, the questions would get answered to more than one person. It would go to, you know, everyone would hear. So I guess my question to you is, my videos always tend to be quite long with my monthly updates anyway. So do you think they should be even longer, and we put a Q&A session at the end where I answer the questions that have come up the month before? Or do I do a Stitch With Me that is dedicated to Q&As from the channel, so that I just sit and stitch and I answer the questions whilst I'm stitching? Because that's an option. Because although I was thinking about doing the Q&As on the lives, which actually helps me because it gives me something to focus on whilst I'm stitching, the problem with that is I know that a lot of you don't necessarily watch or like the lives. So therefore you either don't join the lives at the time or watch them on a replay. So I guess my question to you, because the questions are from you, so it makes sense that I ask you the question. How would you like me to communicate the answers? Would you prefer that I did a dedicated Q&A video where I just sit here and answer questions? Or I could do a Q&A stitch with me where I sit and stitch and I answer the questions. Might take a little bit of brain power, but I'm sure we'll manage. Or would you prefer that I answer them in my monthly update at the end? But then imagine the length of my videos then. Wow, they could be huge. Or I can do them on the live streams. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, because I appreciate how you like me to run my channel, because it's for you, and it's only because of you that I have this channel. So how would you like me to do it? And I will heed your advice. And I will go, ouch, she says, don't move like that. I will go with the majority of you. Right, people, I really do need to go because my back is really starting to hurt again now. It needs to move, obviously. So I hope you all have a wonderful November. For those of you that are, this is a firework weekend. So yeah, the 5th of November. I'm going to make sure I give Honey her sedative tablets this evening. Not that they seem to do much of anything. We've had fireworks last night and pretty much all of the week. But tonight it's likely to be especially loud and bangy. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be much stitching going on because she's just going to be hiding under my arms and behind me and yeah, just doing all the things. So all be careful on firework night. It always does worry me with those fireworks. I hope you all have a wonderful November. If you've got to this part of the video and you're new to the channel and you've liked what you've seen and you haven't subscribed already, please don't forget to hit the little subscribe button, give me a thumbs up and let me know you like it. Right, I think that's a wrap up, people. I wish you a very happy and stitchy November. Please stay safe. It's firework night, people. And until next time, bye-bye for now.